All right. Welcome back to the Fit 40 podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy parents 40 plus so they can improve their health and feel amazing. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach for people over 40 since 2015. And today we have an awesome guest with us. We got James Brennan in the house. He is a pro natural bodybuilder, soon to be registered dietitian, former high school biology teacher, and my former assistant basketball coach. He has deadlifted 700 pounds and competed in the Arnold Sports Festival for powerlifting, published author on Elite FTS, which, if you don't know, that is a very big deal as far as fitness websites go. He's a father of two and the founder of Invictus Dietetics. Welcome to the show, James Brennan.
Thank you, Brian. When you got that going there, I was like, is this like, do I have to keep pace with that voice speed? I was flashed back immediately to Micro Machines, the little toys. That's probably before your time. The guy on the Micro Machines, he was like the guy at the end of the commercials who reads the fine print super fast. And that's what it reminded me of, the Micro Machines guy.
Oh, nice. I'm glad to be in that company. I took that from, there's a popular podcast called The Toast that my fiance is obsessed with. And they do the same thing at the very end where they read the disclaimers and she goes through it fast. And I'm like, is this like fast forward? And my fiance is like, no, this is her voice. I'm like, okay, challenge accepted.
Yeah, seriously. That's awesome. That's a cool little thing to do. It's like Eminem's Rap God. Whenever that song comes on and that the Fabulous Ray J verse, I always rap it, but I get like maybe 6% of the words correct. A lot of times it's just like
yeah, like Busta Rhymes when he's like or that is Rap God, isn't it? Busta Rhymes or no?
Busta Rhymes isn't it? It's just Eminem. Eminem
it
is
is
Rap
just
God.
Eminem.
But Busta Rhymes.
What's the Busta Rhymes where he goes crazy? That's gonna haunt me for the whole podcast. I'm probably gonna blurt it out at the very end right before we wrap up.
That's okay. I think that should be edited in at some point, and that will be like the intro song. We'll have some Busta Rhymes. I don't know. Break Your Neck was one that was a very popular song, but I don't know. I'm not sure exactly which one. Twista had some pretty crazy verses too. The Twista.
Yeah. Well, now as soon as everybody's done listening to this, they're going to go straight to Spotify and be like, all right, Busta Rhymes, Twista, Eminem, and we're going to have some crazy tunes for the kids in the back.
Well, the kids, they may not be going to Spotify and looking at, they may be going to Google and saying, who is Busta Rhymes?
God. No, I had a moment like that coaching the other day where I'm like, yep, that's the age gap. Okay, I'm exiting this conversation.
I know. Yeah, that's how I feel with like, when I was working in the weight room with kids, it would like they would ask to play music, and when I couldn't recognize any of the rappers, I was like, "Yep, there it is, there it is." Yep. And when I would be like, "Hey, let me put on some hip hop that I like," and the kids would be like, "Yeah, my dad listens to this." It would be like DMX and Tupac and stuff like that, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's what my dad likes, that stuff." Yeah, which at the time, like Tupac was old at the time when I was listening to him.
Yeah, that's fair. I know we had like this window, and for anybody listening who doesn't know, like I refer to James as Mr. Brennan or Coach Brennan because he was my basketball coach, and we would lift together after basketball practice. And that trying to get our playlist on, like as players, we had this window with Rosenmeyer, my former coach, where we could get it going, but as soon as a curse dropped, he's like, nope, boom.
Yeah, because the AD and then the AD's assistant, so Miss Zulo, she, whenever there was a swear word, she would just come in and turn it off. And I think he knew that would happen. So it was just like, we're not trying to ruin the momentum because we need this intensity in here. So if we hear swear words, she's going to hit it. So I'm not letting that happen.
Yeah. Miss Zulo is such a lovely lady too. Like I'd feel bad if she had to come down.
She was phenomenal at her job. Yeah. I worked at other high schools with other athletic departments, and I didn't understand how good of a job she did until I started working with other athletic directors and other administrative assistants for athletic directors. And I then came to realize how Mrs. Zulo was a phenomenal administrative assistant for athletics. She did a really good job.
Props to everybody, especially if you're listening right now and you do an admin role and nobody gives you the props you deserve. Claps for you, because the people that are incredible at admin are like sent from God. They are the best,
making everyone else's jobs easier.
Yes. Yes. Sure. Now I'd like to touch on a little bit of like what we talked about before we like hit the record button, because we were chatting for like 30 minutes before this, guys. Like I could be totally selfish here and not hit the record and just chat the whole time for an hour and be totally good. But we got a podcast to film. So let's pull in some of those things. Like, I know one of the big things I wanted to touch on was Invictus Dietetics. Like, what is the reasoning behind it? What exactly do you do now? And like, how's that process been?
So my passion in life is training and nutrition, whether it used to be for powerlifting, and then I transitioned into bodybuilding, and the nutrition that goes into all of the just performance training, physique, body composition training. I love all that. I also want to be able to work with people that aren't in that field of the more hardcore, sports, whether strength sports, physique sports, working with people who have health issues, working with people who need help managing diabetes, hypertension, working with the older populations, working with general populations. So trying to create a company that will allow me to work on the extreme ends, but then also working in the much more general population communities is something that I would like to do. Because I've worked with quite a few different, like I've worked with kids in the weight room. I've worked with people who are elderly. I've worked like as a bodybuilder myself, as a powerlifter myself, having worked with those communities. I like all of them. And it's kind of like, for me, I want to enjoy what I'm doing, and be helpful to multiple different communities. So my approach with all of this is like, I appreciate evidence-based practices, but I think evidence-based as a term right now is, I don't really love the direction that it's going, where like, whether it's training, like science-based lifters or evidence-based nutrition practices, I don't love the way it's going, where it's so much based on just like experiments and studies. And it's like, well, this study shows this. It's like, well, what about real life? Like, what happens in real life? And I think not even just like the outcomes, like general health outcomes, it's like people's perceptions. Like, okay, the evidence may show that seed oils are actually health promoting, but
Oh no.
I know. But social media tells you otherwise. And if you say that seed oils can be health promoting on social media or wherever, you are a shill who is supported by the government. A lot of people agree with that. So if you come out with your statement being like, oh, see this, the evidence says seed oils are good. If you think otherwise, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. But it's like, so you're just calling people idiots now. And do you really think that that's going to help them? Like, you need to find a balance between like, okay, well, the evidence says seed oils are actually healthy and social media tells me that they're not. You don't need to pick a side. Like, you need to understand, like, what does the evidence suggest, but what do people think? And it's the same thing with like, if somebody says, I want to get toned, you, on the other hand, know that toning isn't really a thing. It's like, you can either build muscle, you can burn fat. But if you come to me and you say, I want to get toned, and I go to you, actually, toning's not a thing. Like, is that person going to want to work with you? No. Like, they say, I want to get toned. You, as a coach who knows what that actually means, you go, I got you. And then over the course of your training them, you explain, we're going to build muscle here. Okay, now we're going to burn fat. This is going to achieve that toned look that you're looking for. But this is over the course of discussions and conversations and building a rapport with that person. So I really think that my approach to nutrition is very much like that, where it's like, okay, maybe you heard that such and such is bad for you, and you've put your whole identity on building your approach around that. I'm not going to blast you and tell you that you're a moron, because now I can't help you because you don't like me and you aren't going to want to work with me. My first impression is ruined. Therefore, there's no relationship here. But if we build a rapport and I can kind of help guide you to a much more balanced approach to things, I think that's going to be much more beneficial in the long run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. Because right now, at least how it seems on social media, for example, we're getting caught in between the marketers and the nerds. Because we have the nerds like, I'm more writerist. I'm gonna be the one to be the like say all the right things. And then we have the marketers taking taglines and manipulating what studies say and saying the complete opposite sometimes. And it's just leaving everybody confused. So we do need professionals in the middle that are like, I hear you. What you want, we got this.
Right. Yeah. There's all these mechanisms, and you could have 100 mechanisms that go towards an outcome. What are you concerned with as a consumer, as a person? You're concerned with the outcome. Don't pick a mechanism and ride that mechanism because it causes something. But there might be 100 other things in that process that cause other things. It's like the oatmeal thing. It's like, yeah, oatmeal has phytic acid in it. Phytic acid can block the absorption of certain minerals. Does that mean oatmeal's bad? No. There are 99 other things that oatmeal does that are good. That one thing might be bad, but you have all these other things that are good. Are people who eat oatmeal, are they people who have zinc deficiencies? Are they people who have health problems because of their oatmeal? No, they're not. People who eat oatmeal, studies show that the people who eat oatmeal generally have better health outcomes overall. And that's in spite of the fact that there are a few negative mechanisms which are overweighed by many positive mechanisms.
Yeah. And this is, I think I first heard this from Lane Norton, who's a great example of like quality information. Like he has a line where he's like, he was told, I think, by Dr. Lehman, who he learned under, there's no such thing as solutions. It's all just trade-offs. It's basically like there's good and bad, and no matter what decision you're going to make for pretty much everything, you just got to make sure there's more pros than cons. Kind of like if you're going to invest, if you put all your money into this portfolio of companies and one company is tanking, but the rest are excelling, are you really going to pull your money out? No.
Yeah, it's the overall, the net. But what is the
Yeah.
overall effect, the overall outcome of whatever decision or practice or approach that you're taking? Yeah, totally agree. You got to look at overall health outcomes over mechanisms or overall performance outcomes, whatever it is that you're looking at. Like um, an example that I could think of is like short rest intervals. Short rest intervals may increase hormone production, like testosterone production may increase with short rest intervals. Does training with short rest intervals lead to increased hypertrophy? No. So then who cares? Like that increased in testosterone, it's a very short period of time. Yeah, okay, your testosterone doubles for a couple minutes, but then it drops back down to baseline, and you now, because your rest is so short, the reps that you're doing in the preceding sets are not quality reps. So you are tanking your training for the goal of increasing your testosterone for an extra 4 minutes over the course of your workout. An amount that's like, okay, you have normal testosterone. You increased your testosterone to normal. Like you didn't increase it to suprahuman. It's not like you went from 400 to 5,000. It's like you went from 400 to 600. You went from normal to normal, but you
Yeah.
just tanked your training in an effort to do that. So do short rest intervals create better hypertrophy? No. That's the performance outcome that you're concerned with. So like, here's the outcome, here's how you get there. I feel like that is the role that practitioners should be teaching people, not this little mechanism does this thing, which maybe has an effect on things, but maybe there are 100 other mechanisms that also affect that thing.
Exactly. And unfortunately, there are a lot of experts in certain fields that will ride a mechanism till the day they die. Like pretty much everybody who jumped on the insulin bandwagon when it came to fat loss, a lot of them refuse to admit that they were wrong or basically just twist things in a way where they're not 100% wrong. And the problem that I think is the big thing is the acute versus chronic. And I don't understand how people that are so well educated don't grasp this concept or just blatantly ignore it. Because acutely, our cortisol spikes like crazy in the morning because we wake up. Does that mean that waking up is bad for us? No. If we wanted to lower our blood pressure and we were only focused on decreasing things that drive our blood pressure up, you should never exercise ever. But what happens? We exercise and our blood pressure goes down over time.
Yeah, it's the long-term effects. It's that overall health outcome.
Yep. And
So
that's
yeah,
honestly
like
what everybody should be thinking of when they see these clips on social media. And it's like, oh, this hormone does that, this does that, and it does this thing in your body. Like basically anything that comes out of Dave Asprey's or Gary Brecka's mouth, the only thing in the back of your head should be, what does the human outcome data say? And if they can't provide that, then it has no practicality at all.
yeah, yeah. It's like yeah, with your example of insulin. It's like, well, don't eat carbs. Why? Because it increases insulin. Why is insulin bad? Well, because it's a storage hormone. Okay, why is that bad? Because you're gonna store fat. Okay, well, if you are eating in a caloric excess and there's excess to store, sure, but that's gonna happen without insulin anyway.
Not to mention, if we're throwing in human outcome data, are we going to include those studies that show that the people who eat more carbohydrates in a calorie deficit tend to lose a smidge more weight and fat?
I think yes, that is the
It's
intention
it's
is to
not
ignore those. Yes.
it's not statistically significant, but they do lose more fat and weight when they include carbohydrates in a calorie deficit. Maybe because it's our body's preferred fuel source and we mentally do a little bit better and we actually increase our non-exercise activity because we have those carbohydrates. I don't know.
I think it could be that. Yeah. Like,
Maybe.
and just like the fact that it's not significantly different. So like the end overall conclusion of studies like that would be that high fat, low carb, high carb, low fat, both can achieve weight loss if calories are equated. So it's not the insulin, it's the total caloric intake.
Yep. And if we're really going to make this extra super duper practical, which is the one that you'll actually do? Because you could pick the perfect way of doing it, but if you don't really like carbs that much and you prefer fattier sources and you want to go low carb, do it. That's going to get you better results than trying to stick to something that you don't like.
And you know what else you could do? Not have to pick one of them. You could
Yep.
do whatever you want. Like you can go moderate of all. You can do high carb one day, high fat another day. Like if you're hitting your calories, and this is something that I think is a great way if you're going to track. You have your calorie target, but then you have macro minimums where it's like if you hit a certain number of carbs and a certain number of fat and a certain amount of protein, the rest of your day can come from whatever macronutrients you want them to. And this isn't some like if it fits your macros, like, oh, just you know what, fill it up with ice cream and Pop Tarts. It's like, well, no, still get it from good, clean, whole foods, most of it. But once you hit those macronutrient minimums, you can go about the rest of your day in a way that will allow you to just hit your calorie targets, your calorie targets, eating foods that you want to do that day. So maybe it's a higher carb day, maybe it's a higher fat day, but eating the foods that you want to eat on those days.
Yep. And you could make a case with that of improving metabolic flexibility because it's like now your body is capable of having a low carb day, but also having a high carb day and not having some gigantic sugar spike because you happen to have more carbohydrates or like feeling sluggish because you take in this food versus that food. It's like now your body's just even better at metabolizing these things and you're a more robust machine.
Sounds totally reasonable. I don't have evidence to say that that is a thing, but it sounds totally reasonable. I actually personally, like myself, that's how I go about my days, my training days. I have higher carbs, lower fats, higher calories in general. But then on my non-training days, I bring the carbs down, I bump the fat up a little bit more. And it's kind of more of an enjoyable way to live because on the non-training days, it's kind of like I'm going to have a lot more fat today. And I love food in general, so it's just kind of like, we're gonna have some more of this today. Or on the higher training days, it's more, or higher carb days, it's like, okay, we're gonna have more of this today. We're gonna have big carb meal before the workout and after the workout. It's just, if you like that kind of stuff, then it works for you. But I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can really go about it however you'd like, and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, now you've got me at a crossroads here because I'm like, we could go one of two ways with this conversation. And I think what I'm going to pick, I'm still bringing the other one up, but I think what I want to start off with is being that you're about to, like in the future, sit for the test to become a registered dietitian. Like you're in the thick of it and like this stuff is all fresh. So, like, you're like the perfect person to ask about nutrition stuff, since you have to be the most up to date to pass this test. So I'm curious, with your learning, is there anything that you found to be like you were wrong on something, or maybe you weren't 100% right in your previous beliefs that the education proved different?
Uh, so not a lot, to be honest,
Yeah.
but I
I
think
figured with the biology background, you pretty much had the X's and O's down.
from a nutritional science standpoint, not so much. And the way it applies to sports, performance, body composition, stuff like that, no. But I would say the way in which you deal with people, yes. And so a specific example of this, and this is like I didn't think about this prior, but so this is probably the one that comes to my mind that I think about the most, is the health at every size movement. That is something that prior to my education, I was like, are we allowed to swear on this?
Fuck it.
So, healthy at every size, to me, my thought was, fuck that. That's how my approach was, because I'm just a very intense person. For me personally, it's like discipline, blah, 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 blah. Um, So to me, it was kind of like well, being obese isn't healthy. How can we say you can be healthy when you are obese and we're dealing with the health conditions that come with that? That's not what it says. I just think whether it's the dietetics community, the medical community, they did a bad job of promoting that statement and the movement that comes along with it. What healthy at every size means is you're a person, we have health issues, we need to deal with them. We are not addressing weight as the number one priority. We are going to address other things. And if you lose weight in the process, great. But we're not making that the number one priority. If a person is overweight, they have diabetes, they have hypertension, what are we going to do? What are we going to address? We are going to address the diabetes. We're going to address the hypertension. We're going to increase physical activity. We're going to increase the intake of healthy foods. But we're not making it so we need to track weight every day. And that, like, at the end of the week, oh, good job, you lost weight. No, at the end of the week or at the end of the month, if your A1C came down, your blood pressure came down, you're increasing the number of times you go to the gym. You went from working out never to working out 90 minutes a week to a couple weeks, 150 minutes a week. Like, that's what we're tracking. We are prioritizing the behaviors over the weight loss. So that's what Healthy at Every Size is promoting, is go after the health condition. And weight loss isn't the goal. It will probably come. But even if it doesn't, your blood glucose improved, your blood pressure improved, your physical activity increased. That's an improvement. So we've improved these parts of someone's life. And in time, weight loss will happen if you stick with those things consistently. And it's working on the behaviors that allows that to happen consistently. You can't punish someone because they didn't lose weight. You can't, whether it's like physical or mental or whatever, that's not going to be helpful. If you make it so that the weight loss is the priority, and if you didn't lose weight this week, well, that's our goal. Our goal is weight loss. If you didn't achieve the goal, you failed. So prioritizing the health of the person with having weight loss as like an indirect goal, that's what that's about. So that was one of those things that when it was introduced to me in one class that I was in, I was like, I'm not looking forward to this. And it was a lot of like discussions and stuff. And in the very first one, I was like, yeah, I'm not about this. I think this is dumb. And after like listening to some people talk and reading and just learning about this stuff, it was kind of like oh, I never thought about it that way. I guess that big picture approach does make some sense.
Wait, so if I'm hearing this correctly, when presented with facts and perspectives that honestly add up in your brain, you were able to change your mind on a topic.
Believe it or not, yes.
Wow, it's a wonder what education will do.
I know, man. Like I hate that. I hate when, and it's just like how dumb people can be when they have like a dogma, and then new research comes out that you can't argue with it, and they change their dogma, and they act like their new approach is how they've always been. And it's like, you realize that I could go back on your social media and see you blasting this approach, and your approach was the other way.
Yeah,
You,
it's
you
probably
realize that
right
you
next.
could do that,
It's
right?
probably right next to the Google search of Gary Brecka's mugshot.
Is it really a mugshot? Was he
Oh yeah,
arrested?
he
Really?
grand theft. Yeah, he stole a car or
Wow.
something back in the day.
I didn't know that.
Hey, it's a picture of great moral character. But this is not a crap on Gary Brecka day. But no, I'm glad that you brought up the whole weight loss being a side effect type of thing, because it makes me think a lot of how the conversation goes around something like, say, antidepressants. Like people that deal with depression, they're like, just go and get some sunlight, just go work out, you'll feel better. And it's like, yeah, but how do you even get to the gym if you like can't get yourself out of bed? That's where that intervention comes in. And then all of a sudden you can do all these other things, kind of like weight loss, where it's like, hey, weight loss isn't happening right now because you feel like garbage metabolic, like because metabolically we're in such a bad place. So let's improve these health markers. And hey, now you have a little bit more energy to get some more walks in. Maybe you do this non-exercise activity you're not even thinking about, and it's adding so many more burned calories throughout your day. And you're just all of a sudden, boom, weight loss is happening. And you're like, but I'm not thinking about it. It's like, yeah, because we're focused on the process, not the outcome.
Right. To lose weight, increase your physical activity, improve your diet. To manage diabetes, manage hypertension, you do the same things. It's just you're going about it with a different mentality. And if you have different goals that you're shooting for, the person who's trying to do these can have such a different outlook on what it is that they're doing. So you could say like weight loss isn't our goal. And then some people could be like, well, why? Why? Just losing weight will make it all better. It's like, yeah, you're right. We're going to do the same stuff. I'm just going to approach it in their mind differently. How do we lose weight? Yes, increase physical activity, improve the diet. But if we just do those things without making the weight loss the goal, then that person might not feel bad if they don't lose weight. They will feel better if they see that those numbers come down, those biomarkers come down, the lab data come down, and that's a win. And eventually
Mm-hmm.
that could lead to the weight loss. But yeah, what you were just saying there about like, well, if you're depressed, just go exercise. It's like I saw something on social media once posted by somebody, and it was like, it was supposed to be a motivational thing. And it was like, if you're depressed, you're worried about the past. If you're anxious, you're worrying about the future. Just live in the now. And it's like, huh, clearly you've never been depressed or anxious because that's not how it works. You know, like,
Well, yeah, and I'll push back a little bit on this because I think it's a spectrum of clinical versus non-clinical. For somebody that is experiencing depression, like not clinically, but somebody who is a little bit depressed in the moment, that stuff can help. But if you are in that camp, it's not going to do shit.
yes, I totally agree. That's like the acute versus chronic thing. Like if you're a
Yeah.
little sad this morning, so like I'll use today as an example. We're pretty stressed over here. We're moving out of state in the middle of the school year, pulling my kids out of school. We're moving from Ohio to Virginia. We are selling a house. We are buying a house. We got a lot going on over here. Everyone's kind of stressed. We've seen my wife like over the past 3 months, we've seen her a total of like 5 days. We see her on the weekends. So it's kind of stressed, like, but it's good things, you know, but it's still causing stress. This morning I went into my workout, training legs today. I had to increase weight of the pendulum squat. I didn't want to do that. I do hamstring curls before all of my squat movements. I was doing hamstring curls, and I'm like, fuck. The thought last week on the pendulum squat, my top set, I hit a 0 RIR set of 6. That 6th rep was brutal. The
And for
thought of
anybody
having
who
to,
doesn't know RIR, that means reps in reserve. And it's basically like you literally have nothing left. Your body can't move even if you wanted it to.
yeah, it's like taking it to failure, but it's like the rep right before actually failing. Like if I was to try another rep, I wouldn't have been able to move. And I train with pretty high intensities. So the thought of having to do that today while feeling a little stressed and feeling a little just not into it. It was like a daunting task. So I got through the hamstring curls. Somebody was on the pendulum squat, and I'm like, maybe I'll just do hack squats instead. So I put the weight on the hack squat. I did a warm up set on hack squats. The guy finished in like 3 minutes. So I was like, pendulum squats open. I guess I should go do it. Warm up set number 1, number 2, number 3 felt really good. And by the time I got onto my 4th warm up set, I was like in the zone. I put the knee sleeves on, I had the music cranking, and I was in the zone. Put on 10 pounds, matched reps from last week. Awesome set. Rest of the workout was phenomenal. But because I just did it, it was one of those like, I wasn't feeling it this morning, but I'm not depressed clinically. It was like I didn't want to train this morning, which doesn't often happen, but I didn't want to. And I just said, hey, dude, like, fuck you. Like, just do it. And that a lot of times that's just what gets it, like, just start. Because once you get those endorphins flowing, once you start doing the thing that you enjoy doing, it's just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of fun. And then, whatever it is that you enjoy. For me, it's the intense mindset. Like, I love that. So it's just like, all right, let's do this. Let's do this. So yes, I totally agree with you. The clinical stuff, like if you're clinically depressed, like just telling somebody to not be so sad doesn't work. But if you're just like, I had a rough morning this morning, it's like, okay, well, just put your shoes on. Let's go.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I am actually kind of in that place too, where it's like you hit those days where you're like, I just don't want to do this. And it's such a foreign feeling when you're young and every workout is the best thing ever and you feel amazing. Even though you're a little sore, you're like, I'm going to crush it today. But I think a lot of people get into fitness in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they never really quite experience the awesomeness of being young and working out. So like if somebody else was in your shoes where they're like not feeling it, what are like your favorite techniques to like still get the job done? Kind of like similar to how you were just saying.
I think that really can apply to anybody, honestly, is like, just start. It's just starting. If you're there, if you're already at the gym, are you just going to go home? You're not going to just go home. You're there already. So that's the hardest part, is just getting there. So, and this really does kind of go against what I just said, where it was just like just do it. Like, yeah, just do it. Like in this case, in these cases where you're just kind of not feeling it, you're a little sleepy. It's like, well, yeah, we're all sleepy when we wake up or after work, like you just worked a full day. But like once you start, like if you know what that feels like, and maybe you've never felt that before, so you need to do it once where you don't want to do it and you just start. And 10 or 15 minutes into the workout, you're like, wow, I feel really good right now. Glad I didn't just sandbag the rest of this workout because I wasn't feeling it before. I really think just get started. And in situations like that, it is a little bit of discipline. It is employing discipline and understanding that you need to just do it, whether it's for your health, whether it's for a competition that you signed up for, whether it's for whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's you want to like be better at playing with your kids, whatever it is that you're trying to do, like understanding that physical activity is something that you need to do. It's whether it's for health purposes, for like biochemical, diabetes, hypertension, or if it's for just getting better at the physical activity. And it's something that you need to do. It really isn't just like oh, well, it's the luxury of doing it. It's like, what animal in the world doesn't engage in physical activity? Like we are the anomaly, just doing what we're doing right now. This is probably the only time I'm going to sit all day today. But like other than when I sit in the car to pick up the kids, I got to sit in the car and, wait for them. But other than that, but yeah, like to say like, well, physical activity is a non-negotiable part of your weekly routine. If somebody would say, well, no, I don't have the time to do it. It's like, I don't agree. Like you have to find time to do it because you will suffer later in life. You will not be able to move. Your health will be negatively affected. You need to prioritize it. It has to be something you get in.
And I think there's two things there. Like number one, when you say you don't have the time, what's the time expectation? Because I know one of the more mind-boggling things I noticed when I started working with people, I made a 20-minute program just thinking, it'll work for this one person. But the majority are on that and they see great results. And it's only 20 minutes minimum of 2 times a week. And I'm like, wow, okay, I guess it really doesn't take much. And then Number two, if you truly don't have the time, because there are some people that truly don't, are you okay if you were to sit down and say, this is costing me my health? Are you willing to say, actively take ownership and say, yeah, I'm willing to make that trade? And are you willing to say, I'm not going to change anything because I'm willing to make that trade?
And then you need to put yourself 30 years from now and say, like, will I be happy with this trade-off when I'm 60 and I can't even walk? You know, when I'm 80 and the past 20 years of my life have just been miserable because I can't even move, or you die of a heart attack in your 60s or cancer or something.
Yeah.
It's like you don't think about that now. I mean, I feel like where we are, I mean, you're significantly younger than me, but you're still at a point where you're like thinking about the future and you're kind of like, okay, if I was to do this for the next 10, 15, 20 years, how will that negatively impact my future family? And like, I think about it, I'm 39, almost 40. And so, like, I think about these things. It's like, okay, 20 years from now, I'm going to be 60. And if I was to spend the next 20 years doing certain things, like, that's going to drastically change my life as a 60-year-old, like continuing with being physical or to just stop today. Like, you're looking at two totally different people, and the quality of life for the next 20 years after that, or 6 months after that, you know, because
Yeah.
it's huge.
And along with that, because I think it's important to add this on, and I've recently been embracing this a little bit more, is like, if you know the risks and the benefits and you know the trade-off you're making and you're willing to still be like, yeah, I just don't want to exercise, or yeah, I just don't want to eat well, and you're comfortable with that, I'm not judging. Like, that's your life. We only do this once. Do it the way you want to do it. But I can
I
tell you
agree.
right now, it feels really good doing the way that we're suggesting.
I agree. Yeah, if you love drinking and eating certain things and that is your passion, or just, you know, you really enjoy it. Working out's not your thing, but you want to enjoy life the way you want to enjoy life, go for it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to try and convince you. Maybe I'll give you some ideas about like why it's good to not do that as much and work out a little more. But if that's not what you want to do, and ultimately that would decrease the quality of life, it's like, well, why are you trying to increase a lifespan for a life that you don't enjoy? If you want to, it's not the, what is it saying? It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years, you know? So
Yeah.
sometimes that's kind of like, all right, well, you got to do what you like doing. And that's kind of like my approach to fitness for myself personally is not the healthiest approach, you know, like competitive powerlifting and competitive bodybuilding, not exactly. You get to a point where it's like, okay, building muscle, building strength is healthy. And we're at a point where it's now
Yep.
no longer healthy.
We have passed that point.
Right. Yeah, I know. And like, I
that
don't plan on
that
doing it forever, you know? Like I
yeah.
said, I'm almost 40, and I've heard from some coaches and people that put content out, that people that they've worked with, like 41, 42 is probably like the peak age for natural bodybuilders. So in my
Mhm.
mind, I think of like, all right, I got 3 years of competing still where I could potentially build a little bit of muscle, but the ability to lose fat, the ability to push myself, I've still got a couple of years. And then like once it's over, I'll be good. You know, like I'll be good bringing it down a little bit, and yeah, still training, still being physical because I love it. I mean, if one day I decide I don't want to work out anymore, I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. But like bringing it down, toning it down to a point of where it's just like, I'm doing it for health purposes. And I'm like, you know, whatever my mentality is at that point. But it's, you know, that understanding.
Yeah. And it kind of brings up the question of like, what's enough? Because I don't know if you caught the that
Mhm.
episode of Peter Tia's podcast where he had like Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, Mike Boyle, and the Athlete X guy. And that conversation came up and they made a few good points, because I'm a big Mike Boyle fan, even though I know he's not popular in the powerlifting circles because he
Mhm.
demonizes box squats. But like, when push comes to shove, what is enough? It's like, and I'm curious on your level of knowledge when it comes to the dietetic side of things, like how much muscle do we really need to improve insulin sensitivity to a point where we're quote unquote metabolically healthy?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I
I don't
don't
think
think
it's
it's
ever really been tested to that specificity.
right. I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's a lot, to be honest. I don't think it would be. You need to be at a low level competitive bodybuilder level. No, I don't think that would be. I think having a somewhat noticeable amount of muscle on your body would probably be enough. Like
Yeah.
if somebody was to work out for a couple months and you're like, oh, hey, have you been working out? It's like, that's probably enough.
Yeah. Honestly, that probably is like a really good metric where it's like that moment where you see that little bit of definition in your
Yeah.
shoulder where it like separates from your like bicep and tricep. And you're like, wow, look at that. That's
Yeah.
probably the point.
Yeah. When your mom asks you if you've been working out,
Yep.
that's it. That's the quantitative measurement. Like, has mom noticed? Yes. Like, okay,
Yep.
we're at that point.
Yeah. And luckily, when it comes to things like bone density, for example, like it's much more common to get a DEXA scan and you could actively track and be like, okay, where are we at on this? And then you can kind of go off of that.
Yeah, yeah, having that data available where you, if it is within a healthcare institution, like you can get that data, you can have that in your health record, and it's like, okay, we can actually track these things.
Yeah,
Yeah, DEXA
for
would be cool.
sure.
I've never had a DEXA done before. It's one of those things that I would love to have just for like, because people are so concerned with like body fat. I get asked often, like, what body fat were you at your competition? What body fat are you now? And I'm just like, I have no idea. I won.
Low enough.
I came in first place, so it was good enough. Like that's really, it's just like, okay, it's about the look. It's not like
Yeah.
like if I'm 5% and that guy's 4%, but I won. It's like, okay, clearly my look was better, and that's what it's about. It's a physique sport. It's not a, we don't hand the papers of our printout to the, like our InBody or our DEXA to the judges and be like, well, my body fat's lower, therefore I win. You know, it's not how it works. So I've always wanted to do it, but it would be strictly for scientific purposes to be able to be like, okay, my body fat is 3%. I weigh this much. A year or two from now, if I get my body fat to that percent again and I weigh 2 pounds more, then I gained 2 pounds of muscle and what I did worked. Like that's the purpose where I think knowing your body fat can be useful is from like a season to season, year to year, whatever time interval to time interval, like using that as data to see if what you're doing is actually making progress. That's where I think it's useful. But just simply to say like, I'm 3% body fat. It's like, unless you are on the bodybuilding stage, you are not 3% body fat.
Yes, that cracks me up when people like ballpark body fat, but they have no reference point whatsoever.
Right.
I'm
I
just
know.
like, yeah, I could show you a picture right now, and an in body told me I was 6%, and you'll think, wow, you're 3% or 2%, and it's like, no, you have no idea how low you can go.
Sub 5 is something you have to try really hard to get to. So if somebody just says like, oh yeah, I'm 5% body fat, it's like you either are genetically gifted or you're full of shit, because it's just, you don't just happen to get there.
Yeah,
You
or you're
know,
getting some help.
yeah, or yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, you are getting some pharmaceutical help at that point. But just, yeah,
Yeah,
living at 5%, or even like I've heard kids in high school be like, yeah, I'm about 10%. And I'm like, no, you're maybe 25% body fat.
yeah,
Like you play on the offensive line, you're not 10% body fat.
yeah. Or I chuckle a little bit internally when people are like, I feel like I have nothing left to lose, and I'm like, I mean, I know you do, but I don't think that would be healthy for you. So, like, I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're right. You don't. We're doing a
Yep.
great job here. Keep working
Yep.
hard.
Let's keep building that
Yeah.
muscle. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it
I agree.
cracks me up because a lot of the general public don't understand the extremes that people go to. And then I think it gets a little bit taken for granted where it's like, oh, if I want it to look like that, I just got to do and eat what they do, like eat what they eat, do what they do. But it's like, okay, do that for 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody say something a few days ago where it was like, um, bulking, it, for people who think cutting is hard, you've never truly bulked before. And it's like, you've never been really lean. Like it's
Yeah.
cutting. Sure, you can lose 20 pounds of fat in a couple months. Gaining 20 pounds of muscle, you can't do that in a couple months. But eating a lot of food and getting really full, sure, that can be hard to do over a long period of time. Getting stage lean is soul crushing. Like you get
Yeah.
to a point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And then at that point you quit. That's what it is. Like if you decide you can't do it, you have to quit. Like because you have to go deeper. Like you can't walk on stage at 6 or 7% body fat, at least in natural bodybuilding. you're not going to
Yeah.
win. You're not even going to be in the top 5 if you're 6 or 7% body fat. Natural bodybuilding is about leanness, conditioning, and you need to be diced out of your mind. Like your butt needs to look like Shane Battier's head. Like that's what you need to be. You don't know who Shane Battier is, basketball player from Duke and in the NBA. Look him up. His head was all wrinkly and everything. But like it needs to be crazy lean. And in order to get there, you need to dig deeper than what you're comfortable with. And I don't think anybody could say like, yeah, I got to 3% body fat and I'm very comfortable here. It's very unsustainable.
Yeah.
So to get to those points, you need to go farther than what a lot
Yeah. And I think that kind of tails back to the conversation we were having pre-record where we were going over the whole meaning of like Invictus in the poem and everything, because I do think a lot of times, especially when it comes to dieting and trying to lose weight, people are just like, oh, this should be easy. This should be effortless. And we try to make it that way as much as we possibly can. But you do eventually get to a point where you got to dig in a little bit and be like, I got to do this thing. Like, and I'm king of trying to make things sound easier than they are just to get the buy-in. But if I'm being totally honest, like with clients, almost all of my clients have had one moment or another where I'm like, I have it as a core value, get shit done. Like you just have to have that mentality sometimes.
Right. And it doesn't need to be all the time because you don't want to live your life like that.
No, that's burnout central.
It absolutely is. So understanding that like, okay, we can be flexible. We can accommodate my lifestyle. This can be a generally enjoyable thing. But after a couple months, you might get to a point where it's like, you got to say to somebody like, hey, you're going to be a little hungry. It's okay. That's also a sign that it's working. Like if you're hungry, it means that you are actually in a deficit. And like this is working. And like you can see that body weight is going down. It's just like you got to just embrace this for a little while and just get through this process, because it's to think that it's just going to be comfortable all the time. It's not really very realistic. So like while the beginning of a dieting phase may be fun because you're feeling really good and this is all new. And the same thing with if you're going through like a mass gain bulking phase, it's like, oh, this is so much fun. I'm trying to put on weight. The ends of both of those phases are not very enjoyable. Like if you've been eating in a caloric surplus for months, it's not that enjoyable. It's like, oh, okay, how many 500 grams of potatoes with this like 4 or 5 ounces of meat and all these fruits and veggies. And then you got to do it again a couple hours later. It's like, it's not super enjoyable. But then, same thing with trying to lose fat. It's like you get to a point where you're just like, this food isn't even satisfying my hunger. And to say that it should never be like that is pretty idealistic, to say that it's never going to be like that. So embracing that is.
And we're also talking about concepts where it's like intensity varies. It's like if you do take it to that extreme where you're on a show, like, and you're doing it, you will play that line of like, I'm going from extremely hungry to kind of hungry. Whereas like when you're a normal person just trying to lose a little bit of weight, you'll go from kind of hungry to full and then back to hungry a little bit later. But it's a bigger window and it's more mentally okay than like feeling like a zombie.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect way to describe that. And this actually just gave me a flashback to the first podcast that we did. One of the bits that you took out of it was like your expectation, your goal, whatever it is, that is going to dictate the intensity, the effort, the meticulousness for which you need to put into the process. If you're just a dad or a mom and you want to lose 20 pounds, it's like, we need to clean up the diet and, try to figure out how to make this work into your lifestyle. You can enjoy your weekends, have great dinners with the family. You don't need to weigh all of your food. You just need to create a deficit somehow, and with a way that'll be consistent with your lifestyle that you can stick with for a good period of time, but you want to generally be comfortable. But if you're trying to compete in a physique sport, that's not how it works. You need to be a little bit more extreme. The goal is more extreme. The meticulousness with which you are going about the process needs to be more extreme. So that we talked about this a couple of years ago, and we said something just like this, where it's just like, you don't need to take the bodybuilder approach with a person who's just trying to lose some weight for health purposes. It's
Yep.
if you're trying to lose a little bit of weight and you follow physique athletes on social media and you're trying to do what they're doing, it's like you're doing yourself a disservice unless that person says that they work with general population and what they do is something that is transferable to that because, whatever the reason might be.
Yeah, I did too much editing back in the day. Should have just let it ride. But no, it's so important for people to realize that because there are still people that say, "Oh, just give me your meal plan. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to look like you." Where it's like, no, you got to understand the principles over the method. Like, what's driving the results? It's the principles. It's getting into a calorie deficit. It's prioritizing whole foods because, like, to your point before with the hunger, it's like there will be people that are in a caloric surplus, like that are gaining body fat, that are hungry all the time. And you see it all the time because they're eating a lot of processed food because they're not getting a ton of fiber or protein and they just feel hungry all the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's where food volume is huge, and that's why when you say like eating clean, all you have to do is eat clean. It's like, well, eating clean is a method for which you can achieve a deficit much more comfortably. It's like if you take a potato, if I have 500 grams of potato, like that's going to give you a certain amount of carbohydrates, which would be a nice sized meal. If you take that, so it's going to fill you up. 500 grams of potato is going to fill you up. You'll be quite full after 500 grams of potato. If you take 500 grams of potato and you slice it real thin and you fry it in oil, you've dehydrated that potato to the point at which you have under 10% of the water volume that was originally in that potato, and you've got a little bag of potato chips. And that's not going to fill you up at all. So you're taking the exact same amount of potato calories and you're adding oil calories and you're condensing it into a much smaller amount that's going to fill up almost none of your stomach.
Yep. And if you are a true potato chip connoisseur and you go with the quality Cape Cod version, the kettle cooked, now you're not only getting all of that you just mentioned, you're also getting something that is super crunchy and salty and freaking delicious. So the chances of you over consuming it go through the roof.
Yep. So it's hyper palatable. And I believe these two words are the reason for obesity in this country. Hyper palatable, which is a word that I think has gained some traction in the health and fitness space.
Basically just means super tasty.
Super delicious. So like palatable means delicious. Hyper palatable is like super delicious. You can't just eat one of them. And these are your, potato chips and ice cream and pizza and things like that that are super delicious. And not saying you can't eat them. I eat pizza all the time, even in bodybuilding contest prep, because I've got a family. I still I was making some weird combinations to make it macros, but it worked. So hyper palatable, but then a word that's not as often used, hyposatiating. So hyper palatable, super delicious, but in terms of satiety, like how filling are they? They're not even at a normal ability to fill you. So like potato chips are hyposatiating because they don't fill you up at all, yet they provide to you the nutritional value of the original food, even more of the nutritional value because you're adding stuff to it, but you're decreasing that volume so much. So it doesn't fill you up at all. So hyperpalatable foods and hyposatiating foods are a deadly combination if you are trying to lose weight.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the awesome things that is taught when you stick to boundaries, like having a caloric budget or like doing these approaches where now instead of how most people look at eating, where they're like, what's the tastiest? Like, what am I in the mood for right now? Whereas if you're in a deficit and you're like, I need to hit these numbers, the first thought starts to turn into what's going to fill me up.
Yeah. Trying to pick foods that will fill you and methods of cooking that will fill you is significant. When I was peak contest prep, I was trying to cook potatoes in a way that would keep as much water in them as I possibly could. I would weigh the potatoes prior, cook them, and then weigh them after and figure out which way would keep them the biggest so that would be the method with which I ate them. So cooking them in foil, baking in foil would prevent a lot of the evaporation, but then also boiling. Boiling, you're cooking them in the water, so some of the water it's just like a dynamic equilibrium. Water comes in, water comes out. So those
and this is why I bring people like this on, everybody, because that level of neuroticism I don't expect you to do, but we have James Brennan to do it for us.
Right. Yeah. So I'm currently not doing that now. I'm enjoying my potatoes in wedges. Like I still make French fries, but I still cook them on my own because I'm not trying to buy like, store-bought ones. But like I'm putting some oil on them and I'm baking them in a way that gets them nice and crispy now. I'm not super concerned with how much water is being lost from the potatoes. But if you are concerned with satiety and you want your potatoes to be as satiating as possible, boiling or baking inside of the foil.
Mm.
Those are the two
Now
ways
we
that
know.
now we know.
It's
Yeah.
what is it? The more you know. Like what was that segment?
I don't know. You just
It
sound dumb
turned
right now.
into it turned I'm well aware, but it turned into a meme or a GIF. But
Really?
anyway, maybe
I don't
that's
know.
outside of both of our age groups, and somebody who's in like their 50s or 60s is like, oh, these assholes, they're making me
Yeah,
feel old.
I
Um
know. It's like the 6-7 thing right now. Any of the younger kids talk about that with you?
I don't understand it. I've
It's
given
it's
up.
it's nonsensical. That's the point. It's supposed to be dumb. Where like you have a question, you don't know the answer, and you're like 6-7. I believe that that's what it is
Wait,
because
is that like a play on the Cockney thing, saying like, oh, I'm all sixes and sevens?
no, I think it originated from a video where a guy asked how tall he was, and he just said, well, 6'7", and it was supposed to be like a funny height thing, and that just the video went viral. This could be entirely wrong. My 9-year-old and almost 7-year-old were talking about it one day, and I
I
just was
trust
like,
them more than you, to be totally
yeah,
honest.
I looked it up. So I'm like, what is this? This is so dumb. So I looked it up, and I literally just went to the Google AI, and I was just like, what does 6'7" mean? Why is it funny? And then it just like the Google AI synopsis. That's what I'm basing this off of. So that could be entirely wrong, but
Well,
that's
I'm going to cross-reference it with ChatGPT
all
because
right.
that's my everything right now.
Really? I think if I want a more detailed answer, I go with ChatGPT. If I want something just kind of quick, I'll go to the Google AI. But what I do value about Google AI, I think, is it does a better job of referencing their sources. So like they put
Mm,
that little link there and then it takes you to the page and they also have it like on the side. So there's like a sidebar where you can see it. With ChatGPT, what I've noticed sometimes if I try to get some info from it and then I'll like click on the link, it'll take me to a link that's not the actual link. It'll be like something random. And then I'll be like, hey, that point that you made, can you give me the actual source? And then it'll go, oops, actually, I made a mistake. That source doesn't exist. And it's like oh, interesting.
hmm.
So that
Yep.
thing that you just said to me wasn't actually real. It's like, nope, looks
Yep.
like I can make mistakes. And it's just like all right, cool. With the Google AI, at least, I feel like it does a better job of putting the references over there so I can see like that statement that you made, you got that from Reddit. That statement that you made, you got from PubMed. It's like, okay, there's two different like strengths of evidence here.
Yeah, they do this. Now that you say it, ChatGPT really relies heavily on Reddit forums, and I'm like, my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
because
When you
you click this. I told ChatGPT in the prompt, I'm like, provide sources, make sure that it comes from somebody with the MD, DO, PhD, or has .org, .gov, and it still provides freaking Reddit threads. So, and I go to Google to cross reference, and I'm like, now that you said that, I'm like, I might as well just like, if it's anything semi like that needs a reference, I'm just going to use Google AI.
Yeah, that's what I would do because like it saves you a little bit of time if you want the AI to create something entirely for you. But then it's like, well, the legitimacy and the validity of the information is somewhat questionable. If you do something where you're just getting the sources and then you just kind of do your own research based on the sources that it gives you, that may take more time, but in the long run, it's much more authentic and you can be sure that the information you're passing along is something that you actually found. And a prompt that I usually will use for this is I'll say, according to NIH databases, because the National Institute of Health, that is where PubMed is housed. So all of these evidence-based references are within the NIH database. So if you were to say to these AI platforms, according to the NIH database, blah, 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 ask the question. So then it'll pull only from PubMed or from, whatever library it is that you're looking for. That is something that helped me get through grad school, part two.
There we go. I mean, how nice is it now going through like where you're at and just being able to go through AI and
Yeah,
instead of being like the previous generation where it's like I had to open up a freaking encyclopedia.
I know. Yeah, I went through grad school in 2008 through 2010, and then again in 2023 to 2025. So very different My master's degrees, my first master's is in education, and my second is in dietetics and nutrition. And it's just like, yeah, my researching was very different in them. And at one point, so like I would say halfway through my most recent, my nutrition master's, I never used any AI at all. And the availability kind of changed. So it was much more accessible. But they would ask us at the end of every course, like, did you use AI? Did you use any large language models in your work? And I'm not going to lie. And I was totally honest. And I was like, yes, I do. I use AI to find references. And that's what I would use it for. I would say, like, according to
Yeah.
databases in the NIH, and I would like either ask a question, or a lot of times I would just include keywords. I would say like databases in NIH, and then I would just put the keywords for studies that I was looking for, or content that I was looking for, concepts, whatever. And then I would find those references, and then I would sift through the references and try to find what I was looking for within that. So I think asking these platforms questions and then taking their answer at face value is just really dumb. It's not a
Yeah.
good way to go about doing this, because it's going to create an answer, but you don't know where it's getting that answer from. They always create an answer. So you just like, if there's no evidence for that answer, you're just getting one user on Reddit says, it's just like you could ask your mom, your sister, you could ask your 9-year-old son, like that's basically what that's coming from. So if you don't know what the references are, it's not always very legitimate.
Yeah. And you also have the education to filter through, because I know that it's provided me some stuff and I'm like, I know for a fact this isn't right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue right now with a number of different topics, is that we ask these LLMs, we like try and do our best on the research end, but at the end of the day, we just don't have that filter of education to be like, okay, I know this basic thing is off, so I probably shouldn't trust this source. Because that's what happens when you know a little something about something. You're like, I know this is bullshit. I'm like right off the bat.
Yeah. When I was teaching in high school, so I would have, I'm sure you remember lab reports. So I think what made my approach to these very different from a lot of other people's was like, other teachers would look at the content of the lab report, like, oh, you said your measurement was 5. It was actually 6. It's like, it's not what we care about. We're trying to teach science here. So like references, I would spend like weeks teaching the kids just like the scientific method and how do we find references. And it was like, you can't use Wikipedia. You can't. I can go into Wikipedia right now and I can change it right now and I can say whatever I want. But you can go to Wikipedia and use their references. If you find something from Wikipedia and it has a little footnote, click on that. It'll take you down to the bottom and you can see where they got that from. And if that source is valid, it's a .gov, .edu, .whatever, you could use that reference. And if you're not sure, send it to me. We'll talk about it together. I can let you know if that's a valid reference, but using the information and then using the references that they provide to you. So if you just understand that, like, you just need to find where that information is coming from,
Yeah. And it's honestly like, if you're not willing to put in the effort of taking that and doing that second, third, fourth click, and then going and actually reading the study or reading whatever the thing is, like at that point, you're no longer your best advocate. And that's where you should rely on expert consensus. Because if you're not willing to put in the man hours that these hundreds and thousands of other people have done, just go by what the majority of them are saying, not the one outlier that sounds good to you.
Right. So looking at a position stand on a certain topic is something to do. And if you don't know what that word means, position stand, look it up. If you're looking for a concept, like for example, like the International Society on Sports Nutrition, if you want to know whether like creatine is useful or some ways to go about building muscle, like look up the ISSN's position stand on a certain thing. You got guys like Alan Aragon, who are like the leader in evidence-based fitness nutrition. He writes that stuff. So he's sifting through, like this is his life. His career is dependent upon sifting through the evidence and putting together usable practices based on that evidence.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like an example of that is like my mom asked me the other day, she was like, so I heard that it's better to have whole milk than skim milk because it's more natural. And if you're eating skim milk because it's more processed, you're not going to lose as much weight because it's more processed. And it's just like Mom, which one has more calories? Which one is going to allow you to eat more of something else if you were to have that milk, therefore filling you up and allowing you to be more consistent because you're more full and you're more satisfied? Like, yeah, fat is more filling than it's harder to digest, therefore it's more filling than carbohydrates. But the amount of fat in the whole milk is going to provide significantly more calories. And if at the end of the day you are in a surplus because of that whole milk, it's not helping you. So the reason I bring this up is because like she saw that on social media. And I asked her, like, where did you get this from? She's like, oh, I saw it online. Who? She's like, oh, I don't know. It was just somebody talking about it. It's like, if you don't know where you're getting your resource, your information from, and you were just saying before, look up your references, take the time to do that. You might think, well, I don't have the time to do that. Are you then going to incorporate a practice into the next month, multiple months, years of your life because you just heard it? So, like, if my mom went with this whole milk is going to make you lose weight more because it's more natural thing, if she just spent a couple minutes looking that up or finding a realistic reference and being like, oh, no, that's not true. Okay, I won't do that. But instead, if she had gone, just took it at face value and then spent the next couple months, years of her life wondering why she can't lose weight because she's drinking whole milk all the time, it's like, yeah, the years of wasted time that you could have saved by simply just looking for a reputable resource. You're looking at minutes for that
Yeah.
research as opposed to years of no progress.
Yeah. And that's like a somewhat less harmful effect of that.
Mhm.
Like, if we're going to stay on the same topic of milk, like, how many people are falling for the raw milk BS going on right now, where it's like they see, oh, more natural, it's got all these health benefits compared to pasteurized. And they're like, oh, there's more instances of foodborne illness through pasteurized, but that's because like 100 times more people do it. And when you look at it, it's like, okay, 1 in 100 versus like 30 in 100. And those 30 are drinking the raw, the ones drinking the pasteurized. And then you take it a step further and you're like, well, all these farmers have been doing it forever. And then you talk to the farmers and they're like, yeah, we just boil it. And it's like, so you pasteurize
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I don't need to elaborate on that. That's exactly right. Yes. Exactly what you just said. It's like if you were to go to a per 100 or per 1,000 person, yeah, the instances of foodborne illness is higher in raw milk. Why? Yeah, it's like, why are there less raw milk illnesses? Because nobody does that.
Yeah,
That's
because
why.
9 out of 10 people go, well, that's fucking stupid.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, yeah. I was going to make it another analogy about like, plane crashes and car crashes. It's like, well, yeah, we do one of them much more than the other. Therefore, we have
Yeah.
more accidents in one than the other because one of them happens far more often.
Well, I like the analogy side of things because I always say I don't consider myself super duper intelligent, but I get basic concepts because of stuff like that, where it's like I probably would have fell in with a lot of these false beliefs that are going around if I didn't learn, hey, if you understand correlation versus causation, like, are you going to avoid ice cream so that way you don't get murdered? Or are you going to avoid ice cream so you don't become a murderer? Because both ice cream sales and murder rates go exactly the same way come summertime.
And shark attacks.
And shark attacks. Like, ice cream might be the worst thing for you in summertime ever.
Because of causation correlation, I mean. Yeah, if you're looking at correlations, then it's just like, well, what other variables are playing into effect there? What are the other confounders that are playing into effect? And yeah, that we
Yeah.
could go down another whole rabbit hole here with like nutrition studies, where it's like with epidemiology, you look at epidemiological studies where you look at populations and it's like, well, these people do this more often and that causes them to be more healthy. Therefore, that's more healthy. It's like, yeah, but the people who do that also do like 20 other things that are healthy, and those other things probably outweigh that thing
Yeah.
that you're.
Or my favorite example of that is like Stephen Gundry was with the guy Dr. Mike, and they were having a debate, and Gundry's like said something along the lines of like, well, these doctors who smoke a pack a day lived longer than these, or what was it? No, they had less instances of cancer than these doctors who consumed X amount of fruit. And he's like, yeah, because they were dead. They couldn't get cancer because they were dead. And
Yeah,
he's like,
not looking at those variables.
yeah. It's like you can manipulate it in any way, shape, or form you want to make a point. But at the end of the
Right.
day, you got to understand the full picture.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Was that Mike Israetel that it was on there?
No, that was Mike. I don't know his last name, but he just goes by Dr. Mike, and he's a family medicine practitioner. And I
Interesting.
gotta say, honestly, I kind of got to give him props for possibly being the best science communicator at the moment right now.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know who he is. I may have seen him. I just might not know what his name is.
Yeah, he's got the big glasses on, but he actually just went in front of the American Medical Association, basically calling them out, saying, you're not really doing anything as far as communicating to the masses in an educational way that matters, right? And he's 100% right, because what's taking over the airways right now is a bunch of BS, misinformation, marketing tactics.
It's like what we were talking about earlier. I don't remember if this was before air or after, like with the mechanisms. It's like health outcomes. How do
Yeah,
we improve health outcomes? It's not looking at these individual mechanisms. It's not red 40. It's not seed oils. It's the big picture stuff, and changing the ingredients in fast food is not the fix. Educating on how to eat so that you eat less fast food, or more of a systemic thing. Make like healthier food should be more accessible. Fast food, maybe you should just go away.
yeah.
Like
Speaking of that, literally like today, I think it was, California just passed a rule getting ultra processed foods out of school lunches. And I'm like, wow, that sounds awesome.
yeah, I having children and having worked in a food service for part of my graduate school requirements, I had to do an internship, a food service internship. It really is. It's very interesting. I went in there, and the very first day, the woman that I worked with, she was phenomenal, by the way. She was fantastic at her job. She was like, "So as a parent, can you like just give me a little input? Like, what are some stuff that you're interested in knowing about as a parent in the district?" And I was like, why is there a cinnamon roll for lunch? Like, why is that a lunch option?" And she's like, "Yeah, I know. The dietitian in me hates that that is on the menu, but I'm running a business. Like, my entire food service budget comes from the money that I make from food sales. So if I can't sell the food, I can't buy the food, I can't maintain equipment, I can't pay the lunch workers, I can't make money to run this whole operation." So it is very, it's, it really is like you have to find that balance between trying to promote nutrition and trying to have a feasible business or food service
Yeah.
system. And
At the end of the day, that's what's you got to have both.
I agree. And I think if you can find a way to reduce the amount of ultra processed foods that you are giving to kids, I think that's great. And I think there should be, this is actually something that I wanted to do here before we are, we're moving now. But this is like where I wanted to take part of the business was educating cooks and chefs, the head cook in a school, the person who does the purchasing, educating them. How can you make the most healthy but also economic choice? The healthiest choice might not be the most economic. The most economic might not be the most healthy. How can we find a way to balance that where you are not buying the cheapest chicken you can possibly buy? You don't need to buy the $15 a pound organic free range chicken for
Yeah.
the kids at school. You don't need to buy that because that's just, it's not feasible. But if you can try to find one that doesn't have extra crap added to it, it's just chicken and it's the best priced one, that's what we're trying to do. So educating the people who are doing the purchasing in the schools, if you can show them how can we make an economical decision that's also prioritizing health.
Yeah. And to your point, how you said there needs to be like sales driving this, like create an incentive structure where, hey, if that chef creates these dishes that kids actually want to buy because they're good, give him a percentage. So now they can actually make a better living. The kids get better food. And if it economically makes sense, because now kids are buying more because they're like, hey, the chef cooks better than mom and dad do. I want that. Now it all kind of flows together.
It's that whole idea of the outcome, right? You've got multiple mechanisms in the system. Yeah, maybe this mechanism costs a little more, but the outcome is the kids are healthier and you're making more. So like your input may have to change a little bit, but that outcome may end up being better because of
Yeah.
those changes that you put in there.
And I can only imagine how many people are in culinary school right now that are like, okay, I'm gonna start at like the bottom. Like, what if I have all these skills and I can make a little bit more extra by working in a school system rather than being some grunt on the line? Maybe you get some better quality people in there.
If you were to incentivize the position, yeah. But
Yeah.
then there's a problem with funding. You know, you're dealing with public schools and the funding that goes into that, and it's a whole
Yeah.
other issue.
We say it like it
I
sounds so
know.
simple just
I
having this
know.
conversation, but
We figured it out.
there's probably so much red tape. There's probably so much like crap that people got to sift through just to get the
I
bare
know.
minimum.
And that's why I think educating the people who are doing the purchasing on how you can be economical and also healthy, that may be a little more realistic than hiring somebody that is going to require a six-figure job. You know what I mean? If you're paying that
Mhm.
person the same and you're just teaching them a way to go about purchasing, you don't have to pay them anymore. Yeah, maybe your food cost will go up a little bit because you're purchasing certain things. But then if you can don't buy fruit roll-ups anymore, you know, to give to the kids. It's like, all right, well, you're cutting out some of the ultra processed garbage to then put a little bit more of that money towards healthier things or towards ingredients that could just make it taste a little better. Like
Yeah.
teach them how to season stuff. Like you can add seasonings that do not affect health whatsoever, but make food taste way better, you know?
Or do you even have like a garden at the school, like where you can grow fresh stuff for a fraction? And then you could even make that a class.
That's what they did here. They had a hydroponics. They would grow their lettuce in a hydroponic garden in the school, and a class was actually doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. That would be so cool.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's end on an optimistic note. I like
Okay,
that
sounds
as
good.
I
We
like
went
that
down a
as
path. I didn't think we were going to go down like school system food service. Like I was thinking like we're going to talk about training and bodybuilding and it's going to be fucking awesome. And now here we're talking about like much more scientific, like researching on AI and schools food services.
welcome to the Fit 40 podcast, which is a series of rabbit holes.
Yeah, man, you should have included all the stuff in the beginning, like Iron Culture, Eric Helms' podcast. And I've listened to that. They bullshit for like an hour beforehand. Like there are times where I'm like, I'm just trying to hear the topic, and I skip the first hour. I'm like, I just want to hear you talk about what it is I want to talk about.
See, I flip it on its head. I'm like, let's get to the meat of it. They read the
Right
title. They are here for this. And then we will take them with our madness.
there, we go. I love it. Yeah,
Just like I was saying, I make it sound super simple so people buy in. Same thing. Everybody's
there we
bought
go.
in. Welcome to the ride. Buckle up.
Right. We have a good rapport, a good first impression. Now I'm going to hit you with the stupid stuff.
Yep. Exactly. But thank you so much for hopping on. I
Oh, I
appreciate you
thought you had
taking
another
this
topic.
much time.
I thought you wanted to go one more rabbit hole we were going to go down.
Oh no. I got to put a lid on it or I'm going to go off. Like,
All right.
and yeah. And I already have somebody saying, are we still good for our 3:00 time? So I got to be respectful to them. Clients got to come first.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So thank you so much for hopping on. Again, we gotta do this a little bit more frequently because last time we were still in double digits of episodes and now we're into the 300s. So
How many have you done so far?
I think this is 350 something. I don't know.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're
That's
getting
really
there.
cool. I have to go. I have a few podcasts that I listen to, just a few of them, and I never really venture out to find new ones, unless there's a specific person that I want to hear, and I'll listen to
Mhm.
that one. And if I'm like, "Ooh, this is really great," then like that's only happened like two times where that introduced me to a new podcast. But I've been a guest, and I've said this to you before. I've never once listened to a podcast that I've been on. So I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna go look for that old one. I'm gonna watch that old one. I'm gonna watch a couple other ones, and maybe
Oh
you can
yeah.
send me a few that you think I'd be interested in.
You'd appreciate a few of them for sure. Like I literally just had on like one of the guys who's like one of the big names in muscle and fitness. I had Andy on a while back. Like a lot of names are coming to me right now. I'm going to send you a good list.
I would
Like
love
you'll
it. Yeah,
appreciate them.
yeah, cool. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And for anybody listening, feel free to do the same because
Yeah,
there's a lot of really good people in the lineup over the years. But that being said, if you guys did hear anything during our discussion, in between the rambling and in between the random paths we took that really hit home, and you're like, wow, they really need to hear this. Like somebody in your life, whether it's a family member or a friend, go and send it their way. They'll appreciate it. And so will we. All right. So before we sign off completely, where can they find you if they want to see more of your stuff?
So the content creator account that I use is Invictus Dietetics. It's all one big word, Invictus Dietetics. That's where I post content and stuff like that. My personal Instagram is Brennanimal. My last name is Brennan, so just the AN add animal. And I just post like personal, my own training, my own food intake. That's just kind of like a personal one. I really just like the content one. I'm much more focused on that one now. Sometimes I'll go like weeks without posting on my personal one just because it's, can't focus too much life on social media. But currently that's where I put most of my stuff is just on Instagram.
Makes sense why I fell off my algorithm. I got to get back
Yeah,
to it and just
I know, man.
like 5 things a year.
Seriously, dude, my algorithm, like my videos are like seeing like 100 people are seeing them right now. Like I was pushing like high thousands. It was getting really good. Like there was building some steam when I first started the account. And like I would make some videos on like carnivore and seed oils, and people went crazy over that stuff. I made one about kiwi helping sleep. People loved it. And then with my dietetics internship, it just like I had no time to post anything. And it was like I would rush to go get my kids. And usually I will sit in my car and I'll either record while I'm sitting in the car waiting for the kids, or I'll edit while I'm sitting in the car waiting for the kids. And it was like I was flying in last minute to get them. And I literally had no time. And I went a couple months without posting anything. And now it's like I'm shadow banned or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The algorithm is just not in my favor right now.
Yep. And this is why I love my email list. So if you guys are not on it already, grab your free workouts and get on there. It's down in the description or the show notes. And you can find all the links that James just shared with us down below. And you just click away. Don't have to go searching for it. You'll find some really awesome stuff. I know got the awesome car videos where I learned a ton myself. So go ahead, click away. Thank you guys for being all here all the way through. I'll see you next time. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.
Thanks, dude. See you.